Alright, that's the wrong one. Alright, let's move on.
Creativity is a way of reaching for immortality.
Oh
We
shit.
know we must die, and each of us must find the courage to face death. But we also rebel against it. As Dylan Thomas wrote, "Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light." Creativity arises from this very struggle. Michelangelo's writhing, unfinished statues of slaves, struggling in their prisons of stone, are a fitting symbol for our human condition.
Bro?
Every infant experiences a fall from paradise, a kind of archetypal maternal womb or original wholeness, when leaving the comforting circle of the mother to develop an ego. Yet without this fall, there would be neither consciousness nor creativity as we know them.
Yo, you just touched on a personal subject, but I know it's not just unique to me. You know what I'm saying? The whole leaving the nest of the mother, you know what I'm saying? And we think it's unnatural for the mother, you know, to kick us out the house at a you know, at a stage where you feel like you're still vulnerable. You feel what I'm saying? Kick you out the house and expect, yo, go spread your own wings, bruh. You know what I'm saying? You know, there are animals in the animal kingdom, I'm not sure which ones they are, like that literally kick their young out the home at a very, very vulnerable stage. Very young. You know what I'm saying? So, it's only natural, right?
Thus, it can be seen as a happy
Because it's needed, it's necessity. Listen to what he's saying, that without, like, what happens without this being independent and without this being kicked out the mother's nest.
for the mother to develop an ego. Yet without this fall, there would be neither consciousness nor creativity as we know them. Thus, it can be seen as a happy fall,
Happy
or
fall.
upward,
Upwards?
moving us from the stasis of the Edenic state to the full richness of the human condition, where duality and the tension of opposites make.
But I'm not gonna lie, that shit, you know, it can develop within the human, like the growing pains, because it can feel painful. It can feel, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can feel unwanted, like, oh, y'all kicking me out, y'all don't want me, y'all don't love me. But then obviously you're gonna grow into these human conditions where duality and the tension of opposites, you know, make growing sense for you. You know what I'm saying? It develops that strong mental and psyche, right?
Growth possible. As Jung declared, only here in life on earth, where the opposites clash together, can the general level of consciousness be raised.
Okay.
That seems to be man's metaphysical task. In The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, William Blake states that without contraries is no progression. Attraction and repulsion, reason and energy, love and hate are necessary to human existence. From these contraries spring what the religious call good and evil. Good is the passive that obeys reason. Evil is the active springing from energy. Good is heaven, evil is hell. The marriage of these opposites suggests that by reconciling them, we can transcend duality and go beyond good and evil.
Yin and
This
yang.
constitutes the true religious experience, through which we may return to paradise, but on a higher level of consciousness. This journey is depicted by Blake in Songs of Innocence and Experience, where the individual falls from innocence into experience and seeks to grow out of the fallen condition into higher innocence, a new Eden which transcends the original.
Yo, this music better not get me yellow marked, man. Come on, bro. Eternalized. I thought we had a good relationship here. What went wrong, bro? What's this music now?
Blake reverses the traditional view of hell as a place of punishment, instead portraying it as a realm of activity, desire, and energy, writing that energy is eternal delight. He walks among the fires of hell, delighted with the enjoyments of genius, which to angels look like torment and insanity. In contrast, heaven represents passivity, reason, and conformity. Thus, we can distinguish between two types of individuals: the energetic creators and the rational organizers, or the devils and the angels. Psychologically, Blake's hell can be understood as the unconscious, the source of inner drives, impulses, and creative urges. while heaven symbolizes the rules. Both are necessary.
Whoa.
Problems arise when one dominates the other, such as acting out destructive impulses or succumbing to excessive conformity. Blake writes, "He who desires but acts not breeds pestilence." In other words, repressed contents become dangerous, for they create neurosis and can erupt uncontrollably. By bringing unconscious psychic energy into consciousness, potentially destructive impulses can be sublimated into constructive or creative expressions. In this way, fire becomes a symbol of the creative forces of the unconscious, the flames of inspiration, and perhaps even the means of salvation. For fire burns away everything that is superfluous. Only the essential survives the fire.
Yeah.
One of the central figures in Blake's mythology is Lus, who is frequently associated to the labors of a blacksmith in his forge, heating metal in the furnace and shaping it on the anvil with his hammer, a symbol of creative work.
Yeah.
His ultimate task is to redeem humanity from its fallen state through the divine spark of imagination, restoring man's original vision of unity in a benevolent universe. Lus also takes the form of the Bard, a redemptive agent who has transcended the realm of experience, having seen through the veil that conceals the benevolent unity of the universe, which for others appears flawed or evil. Having awakened, the Bard sympathetically cries out to the masses of the earth, calling man to rise to his level of consciousness, suggesting that he too was once oblivious to such a vision. However, while all contain the capacity for this growth, not all achieve it. Some remain in
That's what I'm saying. And not all are meant to achieve it. That's why it's always going to be that way. There's always going to be humans who, like rise higher within their, state of consciousness, rise higher, aka have, these levels of experience within their consciousness, right? And then they'll always be like those that try out, so to speak, or just like, alert others of the state of being, and y'all gotta get here, and so to speak, wake up the others, because there'll always be the ignorant ones. You know what I'm saying? And for that reason, it's because, this phase where people are supposed to stay asleep, it hits people at a different stage. So where you have woken up to these levels of awareness, being aware of these experiences, right? It's not gonna happen like that with everybody.
Experience. The Bard realizes that his fallen condition is not final but transformative, for without a prior fall, there can be no subsequent redemption. He also perceives time differently. Past, present, and future exist simultaneously.
Yeah.
This fusion of time belongs to eternity and stands apart from the ordinary temporal condition of fallen humanity. It forms a vertical, timeless axis that intersects the horizontal flow of time at every moment, offering a still point within the ever-moving world. Through creative work, we may at times enter the eternal now, a realm beyond space and time, where self-consciousness fades and we become fully immersed in the act of creation. This is the flow state.
Flow state.
He who learns to live in the present is truly free from all worries, for tomorrow never comes.
Yeah, and I've heard that because of the fact that, people would put much emphasis on things like their past or their present, right?
I like that shit.
And understanding, the characters, but the qualities of these different states of time, right? Phases of time, whatever. It's like being fixated on the past. It might have your mental state in some sort of cycle or pattern, pattern development within your psychology, right? Maybe a subconscious mind or whatever. And then the future will always, like it can give birth to things like anxiety, constantly worrying, being absent-minded, aloof, you know what I'm saying? Always planning for the future, running towards the future. And then you look at the present moment. The present moment is always going to it forces you to engage with what you have going on right now. It forces you to address all aspects of what you have going on right now, your responsibilities, your desires, your your impulses. Like that's what the present always is. You know what I'm saying? So being fixated on these other two is like the past and the future. You feel what I'm saying? It gets you to even make decisions that, yes, they may not make sense right now, but the effects of that may be much more of a net negative than engaging in the present moment, because that's where I feel like, yo, that's all we have actually is the present moment. You know what I'm saying?
For Blake, our true nature comes from what he calls the poetic genius. He writes that the poetic genius is the true man, and that the body or outward form of man is derived from the poetic genius. Likewise, that the forms of all things are derived from their genius, which by the ancients was called an angel and spirit and demon. As all men are alike, though infinitely various, so all religions and as all similars have one source. The true man is the source, he being the poetic genius. The poetic genius is the creative spirit within us all, which is of divine origin.
And that's that spirit that I pointed out, though, that everybody got this creative spirit. But is everybody meant to be aware of it? Is everybody going to be aware of it? Right? And use it for their own either benefit, or some other people use it for humanity's destruction. You know how devious y'all can get. Y'all know that.
It is the aspect of the psyche that strives towards unity. The word poet comes from the Greek poien, meaning to make or bring forth. Thus, a poet is literally a maker or a creator. In Roman mythology, the genius was a personal guardian spirit present at birth, shaping one's character and destiny. Though today the term is usually used to describe someone of exceptional talent or ability.
Yep.
The ancient Greeks called this guiding spirit a daimon, and he who followed it could experience eudaimonia, a state of good spirit and fulfillment. By attending to our true nature, we participate in the imaginative process and in the creation of our own myth. In doing so, we follow the path of the poetic genius. This creative spirit is the source underlying all art and myth. Blake's visionary work seeks to restore what the ancients called the Golden Age, not as a period in the past or future, but as the realization that God and man were one in paradise, and they still are, even though the illusions of the physical world often obscure this unity. The visionary perceives it directly, and the great works of art affirm it. Blake saw the artist's task as helping humanity regain Eden, to leave behind that state of delusion that we are separate from our spiritual nature. Art is therefore prophetic, revealing the true pattern of human life. The artist...
Yeah, and I guess that's where sayings like art imitates art imitates reality, or reality imitates art, right? That's a derivative of that, right?
Must sacrifice himself to become the mouthpiece of the zeitgeist or spirit of the age. Modern art, for example, often shows alienation, anxiety, or disorder, reflecting what is happening in a society. In this way, the artist gives us a distant, early warning of what is happening to our culture. The question is, can we decipher the meaning? James Joyce writes, "Welcome, O life. I go to encounter for the millionth time the reality of experience, and to forge in the smithy of my soul the uncreated conscience of my race."
Damn.
Every creative encounter is a new event. Each one demands an assertion of courage. The task is as arduous as the blacksmith's labor of bending red-hot iron in his forge to make something of value for human life. Conscience is not handed down ready-made.
And even like, yeah, man, come on, bro. Like, examples like what he's giving, the whole Smith, what is it? The Smith guy, the ironsmith or whatever. Yo, shit, I don't know why the word is not hitting me right now. But the guy that forges the metals and the weaponry and shit like that, and giving it its true form. forging that shit, like, it shows a whole lot of pressure that goes in pressure. It shows a whole lot of not so pleasant experiences, for the formation of these things to, get to their true form. And the process of that creation, the process of creativity for that forger guy, right? Whacking that sword into true form. That doesn't look pleasant, bruh. Yeah, now if we were to apply human sensation to what's going on to that metal thing that's being forged, if we were to do that, like that wouldn't feel right, you know what I mean? But it's just to show you that, yeah, like the process of creativity is not separate from that kind of pressure, that kind of uncomfortability. You feel me?
Made, but is created through the inspiration of the artist, who seeks to express the inner voice rising from the depths of his being, and in doing so contributes to the formation of the conscience of the race. This is no easy task. It is as difficult as forging in the smithy of one's own soul. Two forces are at war within the artist. On the one hand, the longing for happiness, satisfaction, and security in life, and on the other, a ruthless passion for creation, which may go so far as to override every personal desire. The unborn...
Damn. And you know what's deep about what he just said right now is that, hey, look, personally,
I don't like that
I've
shit.
grippled. I've seen life to be this way for me, right? Where it's like you have this longing for like happiness, this desire for just like even convenience, bro. Like everything that's just like joyful and makes the soul just wholesome and feel that way, while at the same time, you know what I mean, the demand for you to keep creating some shit. You know what I'm saying? Keep create, because I feel like even the self-sufficient mind believes this. That everything is dependent on me. I have to like keep creating, while at the same time I want my life to be beautiful already. You understand what I'm saying? And it's not a far-fetched idea to even see this shit in society right now. This kind of phenomenon, right? Searching for these words, but yeah, like it's like people go through this like every day, like especially the journey of a man, bro. Like these days people talk about, I want to be self-sufficient, I gotta be independent, autonomy, these are the buzzwords, not depend on somebody who's employing me my whole life. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I gotta make my life desirable already. Feel me? And that's a hard one to do. But you being aware of this, I feel like you're that your psyche is displaying some aspects of creativity, and for as long as you like try and creatively construct the reality that you want, because again, creativity is there's some pain in it, there's some discomfort in it, right? So I guess that's part of like why a whole lot of people are just like battling, being challenged in the responsibility of making their own lives make sense, while at the same time make it stable and comfortable enough for you to even sustain a family in there, because it has to reach a certain form of stability at the same time. Like your life outside of what you're trying to create, the result of your life, the fruits of your life, they have to make sense for you to be able to sustain a family at the end of the day, because that's what a whole lot of people desire, right? There we go again, that whole skipping of the thing. Man, forgive my screen, yeah.
Work in the psyche of the artist is a force of nature, pushing itself into existence, sometimes with little regard for the individual who serves as its vehicle. The creative urge lives and grows in him like a tree in the earth, from which it draws its nourishment.
Yep.
Jung writes, Every creative person is a duality or a synthesis of contradictory qualities. On the one side, he is a human being with a personal life,
yeah.
while on the other side, he is an impersonal creative process.
Ooh.
Art is a kind of innate drive that seizes a human being and makes him its instrument. The artist is not a person endowed with free will who seeks his own ends, but one who allows art to realize its purposes through him.
Yeah.
As a human being, he may have moods and a will and personal aims, but as an artist, he is man in a higher sense. He is collective man, a vehicle and molder of the unconscious psychic life of mankind.
Yeah.
That is his office, and it is sometimes so heavy a burden that he is fated to sacrifice happiness and everything that makes life worth living for the ordinary human being. If the lives of artists are often so unsatisfactory, if not tragic, it is either because of some personal inferiority or inability to adapt, or because they are compelled by forces beyond their control, which compel them to create willy-nilly. Jung writes, "I've had much trouble getting along with my ideas. There was a daimon in me, and in the end its presence proved decisive. It overpowered me, and if I was at times ruthless, it was because I was in the grip of the daimon. I could never stop at anything once attained. I had to hasten on, to catch up with my vision. A creative person has little power over his own life. He is not free. He is captive and driven by his daimon."
But we have to consider the fact that, Carl Jung lived back, way back in the day where it's like, reality was not where it is right now in 2026, right? So even the demand of this man being creative and making his own life make sense out of this creativity, the demand for that is even at a higher level right now, because you need to be self-sustainable to become the successful one these days. You cannot rely on anything, you know what I'm saying? You cannot rely on any, well, for the most part, right? For your life to become like a net positive for you, you have to be the creator of that reality, right? And now we come from a time where, depending on things like your job, your, impressing your boss at your job, at your workplace and things like that, just doing that throughout your life, it guaranteed some security for the most part, right? But then right now, that's not enough. So everybody got to step up and be that creator of, of their own lives. And now the demand for the performance of this creativity, right? Damn, it's you got to be mad ruthless nowadays. You got to be mad ruthless, because now your own happiness and your own joy is dependent on your own work ethic, productivity, your own mental health. Like, everything has to align for you to be your own self-sufficient. You know what I'm saying?
The daimon of creativity has ruthlessly had its way with me. Creative power is stronger than its possessor. The true artist is the one who enlarges human consciousness. This creativity is the most basic manifestation of an individual fulfilling his own being in the world. A work of art is something supra-personal. The work shapes itself. Thoughts and images arise that the artist never intended. Even so, he recognizes that it is something within him speaking, his own inner nature expressing what he could never say deliberately. Here, the artist feels subordinate to a power greater than himself and stands apart from the act of creation. However, not all works of art come into being in the same way. Some are created deliberately, with the artist consciously shaping the material to express a specific intention. In these cases, the artist is fully identified with the creative process, and his will and skill are inseparable from the work itself. Jung distinguishes between two modes of artistic creation, the psychological and the visionary. The psychological mode draws its material from the personal unconscious, crucial experiences, powerful emotions, suffering and passion, in short, the stuff of human fate. In the visionary mode, by contrast, the material is no longer familiar. It derives its existence from the hinterland of the human mind, as though it had emerged from the abyss of pre-human ages. These are the archetypes of the collective unconscious. Jung gives the example of Goethe's Faust as an illustration of these two extremes. Part 1 belongs to the psychological mode, while Part 2 belongs to the visionary. In the psychological mode, we rarely question the meaning of the material. In the visionary mode, we are unsettled and search for explanations. We are reminded of nothing.
All those deeper questions of life, those existential questions of life and shit like that. Y'all know those. I know y'all know those.
In everyday life, but rather of dreams, nighttime fears, and the dark, uncanny recesses of the human mind. Because of this, such works are often rejected by the public. Yet, works that are symbolic fascinate us and grips us intensely, because a symbol remains a perpetual challenge to our thoughts and feelings, as we are unable to unriddle its meaning to our entire satisfaction. However, a work that is manifestly not symbolic appeals much more to our aesthetic sensibility, because it is complete in itself and fulfills its purpose. Visionary or archetypal art contain primordial images that are true symbols, that is, expressions for something real but unknown. When an archetypal or mythological situation emerges, it hits us with intense emotion, transporting us far above the challenges of everyday life. At such moments, we are no longer individuals, but the race. The voice of all mankind resounds in us. Formation, transformation, eternal minds, eternal recreation. The visionary artist transforms personal experience into the shared destiny of humanity, turning the everyday into the eternal, and awakening the forces that have, from time to time, enabled us to find refuge from every peril and to endure the darkest times. What is essential in a work of art is that it should rise far above the realm of personal life and speak from the spirit and heart of the poet, as man to the spirit and heart of mankind. This is the secret of great art.
What is it?
The creative process activates an archetypal image in the unconscious, which the artist shapes into a work that speaks to the present. By drawing a primordial image up from the unconscious and transforming it into a form the present can accept.
Yeah, well, I feel like, that talks to the fact that we got these these brain hemispheres, right? The left brain, the right brain. The fact that you got that right hemisphere of the brain, you know what I mean? That is where the chaos has to make sense. That's where the chaos is received. That's where, you know what I'm saying, the boundaryless, the fluid aspects of your reality, you know what I'm saying, whatever you're getting within your reality, that's where that creative aspect can actually also be tapped into, you know what I'm saying. Whereas the fact that there's also that left brain, right, that left hemisphere of the brain, like, we have to make sense of these things. The brain will always want to make sense of these, we'll always have to be like, yo, okay, what's the solution then? You feel what I'm saying? We'll always want to be like, okay, how can I, what the hell? Oh shit, I'm seeing something wrong. Damn. No, the brain will always be like, yo, then, like, when all is said and done, like, what are we doing? When 1 + 1 is like equals 2, that plus this equals what, nigga? Like, I need to make sense out of these things. You know what I'm saying? So since these two aspects always travel with one another, yeah, the shit that the stuff. Whoa, actually, yo, I've been telling myself, yo, I have to work on my language, dog. You know, because I don't know, I'm trying to be a better human being. But like, yo, it's just some words, bro. Some words. So please bear with me. My bad. I'm working on it actively, though. I would like to believe, you know. So yeah, now some of these things, you know, some of these aspects where we see life not making sense, and we have to tap into our creative minds to just like hone in what we can use out of the chaos to make it make sense, you know, bring it over to that left brain hemisphere and just construct things that we can then rely on for life or whatever the case, right? It's like the need for that pairing of the two kind of realities is necessary always. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm deriving. I mean, at the same time, man, he just broke down like a poem, man. Come on, like, you know, these kind of poetries, they mad deep, they mad ambiguous and things like that. So you can you know, see it however you want to see it. Draw, like, leave it in the comments, if you will, right? But yeah, like my whole thing is that these two things will always be necessary because we got brains, goddamn it. And these brains got these, you know, these hemispheres, these two sides to it that will always have to communicate with one another.
The artist compensates for the one-sidedness of the age. In this way, art becomes a process of self-regulation in the life of individuals, nations, and epochs. We tend to assume that strange archetypal visions come from deeply personal experiences, as if the artists were hiding their souls. This easily leads to the idea that such art is pathological or neurotic, especially since visionary material can resemble the fantasies of the mentally ill. Yet, at the same time, psychotic works often contain a depth of meaning usually found only in the creations of a genius. Reducing a vision to a personal experience makes it seem unreal and inauthentic, turning it into a mere symptom rather than a true creation. The chaos is reduced to a psychological disturbance, which reassures us, and we turn back to our picture of a well-ordered cosmos. The truth is that it deflects our attention from the psychology of the work of art and focuses it on the psychology.
Eternalized. Brother, why you just do these things? You don't remind me that, you know, it's time from a quick word from our sponsors, man. On manners.
That lady sings, I see the writing on the walls. I mean, back to the scene cause it was pride before the fall. And now the demons grin, there's no temptation too tall. So it's forever. Yeah, imagination that shifted realities till paradigms shift into shades you ain't never seen. Was once excited for all this, now I ain't trying to be seen. Forever.